What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Breaking Bet here on this Friday or Thursday. I'm sorry, February 26th, but we're talking ball for Friday the 27th, officially the last weekend of February, and then full steam ahead to March. Huge month, especially in the world of college baseball. My guy John Bollman is back. After a little 2-week hiatus with weddings and whatever the fuck else he had going on, he's back talking ball, and it couldn't have come at a better time because we have a loaded, full boat of a slate this weekend. John, my boy, how you doing?
Yeah, man. Happy to be back. Couple weddings, traveling around, but very happy to be back on the screen again, back in the grind. I feel like nothing has gone our way lately. Washington State was a brutal loss earlier. FAU up 7-4 in the ninth yesterday. Had both FAU plus 270 and the under. So hopefully our luck can finally change, but we got a lot of games to talk about this weekend.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, dude, I'm not complaining because we finally got college baseball back, but it's fair to say there wasn't that many great scheduled matchups, and it's just how it shaked out or whatever it was. But there's a lot of those layup games for a lot of these big teams. There was very limited good matchups the first 2 weeks. Very limited. But I was really looking forward to this weekend because there's a lot on the board. There's a lot of these little tournaments in different locations, and just the teams that we're seeing. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one, and I'm really excited about it. And I think there's a really good opportunity to win some money. Mechanics is your FAU plus 3.5. Man, I was losing my mind. That old chestnut. But you know what, man? I think this is going to be a really good weekend, and we're getting off to a great Friday night start with all the horses on the mound. So let's get into that. But before we do that, don't forget, guys, it's still early enough in the season to lock into that Dub Club and join the College Baseball VIP Discord for 2026. It's in my Twitter, in the links in bio. It's dubclub.win/_JohnnyVTV / Come win with the boys today. We're sporting over 116 units since college baseball. Handicaps begun in 2022. So get in on the fun and let's win. Johnny boy, we got to preview that Friday night slate, big dog. Let's start out here. Because one of my favorite things about college baseball, it is in my opinion, the best regular season events. Like I say that singular, but say it plural, is anytime there's a tournament in Arlington where the Rangers play. Every single one of those tournaments that they put down, and the team there, and they all do an incredible job because they're always putting out main event attractions. And yet again, we have an absolute juggernaut of a schedule for this weekend. This is easily the best that they're putting out for the season. One of possibly the best slates we've seen in a while. It all starts with Arizona State against Mississippi State in that early noon slot. Cole Carlin, Ryan McPherson, Big 12 versus SEC. Let's start with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, nothing like some Friday noon baseball. I think that's also one of the best things about these tournaments, not just fire matchups, but you get baseball early and all day. And yeah, I mean, we've got an amazing matchup here. Arizona State was undefeated until Oklahoma walked them off their most recent game. Mississippi State also undefeated now, shouldn't say also undefeated. They're undefeated now, but they haven't really been tested yet. So we don't totally know how good of a team this is. I mean, we know how good they were expected to be preseason. And I think Arizona State's been a little bit better than we expected them to be preseason. So with that being said, neutral field game, I like Arizona State plus money. I do think Mississippi State's a good team, but it's still a little different when you get a new coach in there. Move some things around. This will be their first actual test. Arizona State's bats have been red hot. So I like Arizona State at plus money here.
I was actually struggling with this one because I was curious for both teams. Like, hey, they've gotten off to good starts, but they haven't beaten anybody. There's talent, but there's question marks. Look, it's hard for me to look at Arizona State at the current moment and say Cole Carlin, plus 150 on a neutral site.
You're still scarred from last year's Arizona State.
But I'm scarred from last year. For anybody that doesn't know the backstory, Arizona State was my baby last year. That was like my dark horse team to make Omaha win the Big 12, like make a run. I loved Arizona State last year. I bet them so much last season, but they just did me in time and time again because their bullpen was a disaster. And I was down on Arizona State coming into this year because they got gutted. They had so much talent last year, but they got gutted. Kean Vu, Isaiah Jackson, Brandon Compton, Ben Jacobs, like those are just some of their key players all gone. The only big-time guy that was a big contributor on offense that they had last year returning was New Contradas, really. He's off to a good start. Like, New Contradas he's a dude, bro, no doubt. Pitching-wise, the biggest arm they had returning was Cole Carlin, and he was a reliever, and he was pretty good. And he's done what, like, Dylan Valantis is doing and made that jump from key reliever spot to a Friday night guy or in the weekend rotation. Valantis right now, Sunday guy. But look, man, I like Arizona State. I think they're a solid program. I still think they have talent. I think Cole Carlin is a good pitcher, and the price is there. But let me ask you a question. Say we wipe off the prices, no odds, and we're looking ASU versus Mississippi State. Who realistically are you picking? Are you still going with Arizona State?
That's a good question. I think probably if say we're pick them, no odds just to win the game, I would probably go Mississippi State, but I think it's a lot tougher than, you'd expect, like just because Mississippi State was supposed to be the better team preseason. I think like they got a new coach. I think that is huge, especially early in the season. Yeah. And they haven't been tested yet. So I think they're going to need those losses early in the season. I don't think they're going to run the table, or go say 20-1 or whatever it is before SEC play. Yeah. So I do like the value in Arizona State, especially with the number. I do want to ask you a question, though. At what number would you say you would go under here?
What do you mean under?
Would you, under, like, say if it's 11.5, 12.5, like what would you need to bet the under?
I think I would probably say,
because Globe Life plays big for these college games.
It does play big, but we've seen just how good these guys are and just how powerful. Like a guy like Ace Reese, bro, that kid could leave the park in a hurry. We've seen a lot of home runs hit this in the first two tournaments. I would say 10.5. I'm fine with the under. I think that's the cutoff. But let's be real here. These are two offenses that can score. Like, this isn't a big-time pitcher's duel on paper, like face card. Cole Carlin, I still have question marks about him as a legitimate starter. And, like, they played Omaha and St. John's. Like, shout out to my alma mater, St. John's, but they got rinsed. I think, realistically, this is a good matchup. It's a good litmus test for both teams. Not really looking at playing the totals right now. And I'll say this, man. I think Arizona State on the money, it's a good value pick. Like, I don't think this is a layup for Mississippi State. And Mississippi State opened at minus 154, ASU plus 120 this afternoon around like 2:30, 2:45 Eastern time. It moved quick. I look up, it's minus 166 Mississippi State. I'll tell you right now, that's actually what I gave out to my Discord when it was minus 166. Then, like, I go back 10 minutes later, it's it was like minus, it might have been minus 195, the price that we're seeing here. But this is about the cutoff where I'm saying for Mississippi State. I'm not going much further. I'd probably be looking at Arizona State maybe on like on a run line here. But I think Mississippi State right now, I'm probably not giving them out at minus 195 straight. I think this is a solid little leg in a parlay. But that's as far as I'm going at this price. All right, John, staying in this tournament, just the goodie room we're in right now. UCLA, Tennessee. UCLA is red hot right now, number one team in the country. They put it on TCU. They're going to be throwing Logan Redeman, the San Diego transfer. He's looked good his first two starts. And against Tennessee, who just lost to Kent State, throwing Tegan Kuhns. Tegan Kuhns got the juice. This is an interesting matchup. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to preface it by saying this. UCLA's got all the hype right now. They're off to a great start. They got the roster. They got the pedigree in terms of like what the narrative is deriving. Tennessee on the back foot after a loss. They're still figuring out their identity. Like they obviously have a lot of talent working on putting together. It's a neutral field. It's not a huge price, but it's obviously favoring where the book thinks UCLA's not significantly, but definitively better than Tennessee. Like, what's your take on this, and what do you think the line should be?
Yeah, man, this is a tough one because I wasn't very high on Tennessee coming into the season, but they kind of killed all that hype with that home series loss to Kent State. Even though Kent State's playing well, I mean, Tennessee's not expected to lose that series. UCLA, yes, they're number one team in the country, but I don't think I was as high on them as a lot of other people. So I feel like Tennessee's value is inflated deflated right now. While UCLA's is like pretty higher than I would think. So I don't like this number at all at minus 175 for UCLA. This kind of goes back to what you said about the last game. Like if there were no odds here, I would pick UCLA to win the game. But I think minus 175 is just way too juicy for two solid teams in a neutral field where, anything can happen. And, one win or loss here doesn't decide whether you're making it to Omaha or not.
I think this is going to shake out as a closer contest. It's tough, man, because Tennessee is a good program, and I don't feel comfortable laying UCLA outright at this price on a neutral field. I think there's a little bit of sell high on UCLA, buy low on Tennessee, but the definitive factor of why I like UCLA to win this game is simple. It's not just the fact that the Bruins are hot, but they know who they are. Whereas Tennessee's in a bit of an identity crisis. They're not cohesive right now. I picked Tennessee as to have like a down year coming into the year, like as you know. And it wasn't to the fact where like they're not going to be good. But I don't think they're Omaha good. I think new coach with Tony V leaving is going to take some time to gel. And UCLA is gelling right now. And that doesn't mean UCLA comes in and wins this game 10-0. This could be like a 5-3, 6-4 kind of game. And I think UCLA sneaks this one out. Logan Redmond solid. I'm not writing him in as just some all-knowing Friday ace. I don't think that's who he is, at least right now. And it was a good win against TCU, but TCU is kind of going through a little bit after losing Tommy Laporte and Noah Franco, who's one of their big bats. And realistically, like we've had questions about the TCU offense outside of Chase Brunson and Sawyer Strohsnyder and Lucas Franco. Like the bottom of their lineup is very sus at the moment. So I don't think UCLA is this juggernaut wagon that the national media is trying to make them out to be. I think they're very good. I think they're dangerous. But I still think there's some stuff that's left to be desired. That being said, I do like UCLA in a parlay. I don't like UCLA straight up in this one.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good look if you're gonna, play. I mean, we might talk about it, but like I believe it's Oklahoma's playing Gonzaga at home. I think that would be my favorite parlay piece. It's like minus 600. You could probably get this down to pretty close to a pick 'em. I think something like that would be the best way to play this game.
Yeah, I just, man, look, I like Tennessee. I think they're good. I think like Arizona State, it's a good value pick. It's not a bad pick for the price. It's just, I think there's a glaring weakness in comparison to what their opponent is. And I hate saying it because it's like, I really, really want to bet Tennessee at the plus money with Tegan Kuhn's on the mound. I like Kuhn's. Like, I like their offensive makeup. They got guys that are really good. I love Henry Ford. I loved him last year. He's one of my preseason Golden Spike picks. I got a real affinity for Henry Ford and some of the guys they got. Like Blaine Brown, the transfer in Tennessee coming in. Like there's a lot of juice here. But I think in this particular matchup, questions. All right, John, I got to tell you, buddy, this is going to be a very good tournament here. This is, I believe, the Frisco tournament. Oregon State, Houston are part of it. Let me double check. I think it's also Alabama and Iowa. So this is Frisco, Texas. Again, this is something that we get every year. The first one shakes up is Oregon State against Houston. Buddy, if you missed it, Dax Whitney went nuclear last week. A 17K, 7 shutty performance against Baylor. He looked unreal. Just the guy that we saw as a freshman last year, just disgusting stuff. They're playing Houston. I got to say, I love me some Dax Whitney. I really do. I think I said it last year. I couldn't believe he got to campus. I think this kid's a star. I think this kid was the number one pitcher off the board in 2027 coming into the year. It's no doubts. And obviously there's a lot of juice surrounding the performance he just had. But I got to say, man, there's no way I'm laying Oregon State minus 210 against Houston. And I say this for this particular reason. Oregon State almost lost last week against Baylor after Dax Whitney went 7 shutty, 17 Ks. He left the game and it was tied after 7 innings. It took a big hit in the 8th or the 9th for them to win by 2 runs. And Houston is a very good team. Like, they just lost a series to UTRGV, who, look, I gave a lot of shit to Kansas, but UT Arlington might be a legit mid-major this year. Houston's good, man. Before that Arlington series, they were undefeated. And they're throwing Paul Schmitz from Germany, I think, actually. Had 2 pretty good outings, first 2 starts against UTRGV. He did good last week, and then Wake Forest was the start before that. So I don't understand why Oregon State is this big. And this might get up bigger because the Dax Whitney hype. I think Houston is well worth the plus 160 play.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've been going back and forth on whether I actually want to play Houston. I would definitely lean on that side. Look, Oregon State's won 4 games. They're 4-3. 3 of those games are by 1 run. Yep. 3 of those wins, I should say, by 1 run. That Baylor win by 2 runs. They've scored more than 5 runs just once, and that was against a terrible Arizona team when they scored 7 runs. So we knew this team would struggle hitting coming into the season. Or I won't say we knew they would struggle hitting. We knew that there were question marks in their lineup, and they're built around their pitching. But their pitching is carrying them right now. And, Houston has started off the season well. They're, like you said, they're playing against some solid teams. So, like you said, I'm definitely not laying minus 210 against Oregon State right now. I like the value on Houston. I also might go with an under just because of, how Oregon State's been pitching, and they haven't allowed double-digit runs and they haven't scored double-digit runs all season. Granted, they've been playing solid D1 programs, unlike a lot of teams where they're playing cupcakes. But I don't mind an under as well with the Aces going.
Yeah. Paul Schmitz has done well, like I said. Houston's offense, man. Trey Broussard, Cade Clemmy, they got some guys. And the real reason why I don't like laying Oregon State, even in a parlay, with Dax Whitney Day here. The reason is that their Oregon State offense was a huge thing we highlighted preseason, by the way. Outside of A.J. Singer, outside of Easton Tall, outside of Jacob Krieg, they had no legitimate starters last year returning. And I liked Oregon State coming this year. I have them as my Omaha 8. And I felt like their pitching is going to be so good. Their offense is going to go through some growing pains. And if they can catch up, they're going to be able to make a run. But we've seen those growing pains. Outside of a couple heroics from Easton Tall, this team might be under 500. And their offense is just not scoring. So it's like, why would we lay 210? If Dax Whitney went 7 shutty and he only got 2 runs of support, which is basically what he's gotten the first 2 starts against Michigan and Baylor, Houston's going to be in this game. So really, that's what it is. I like the under depending on when it comes out. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm with him there. It's interesting to see how this stadium will play. I believe it's usually in Over Park. Ball travels there, but I think 2 under teams right here. Houston's been pitching well, especially that Friday. And Oregon State's not scoring.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a Houston or pass. I think Houston on the run line is going to be interesting. We don't have totals yet. They haven't been dropping, so let's keep an eye on that. That's interesting. That game got moved up. Sorry, not this one. Different one. But all right, Nebraska against Auburn. Dude, this is a pretty solid series. Again, it's just added to the card. This is looking pretty good, pretty tasty. A good pitching matchup. Jake Marciano, Virginia Tech transfer, has been lighting it up the first couple weeks. He had a really good start last week. I think it was against Kansas State. Might have been 6 shutty, 8 strikeouts. Kansas State was pretty hot. It's going to be him against Nebraska and Ty Horn. Ty Horn also off to a good start as well. 2 really good pitchers. Again, this could be an underlook. 10.5 or higher. I think it's an automatic under if I'm looking at it that way. But John, much like Oregon State, Nebraska's in that boat. These fuckers can't score. They're having a tough time putting runs on the board.
Yeah, so I don't want to say Auburn hater to start this season, but I wasn't as high on Auburn as a lot of people, and especially after that first weekend. But they've been playing well. They've figured it out. They've been playing better. They've been winning games, which is really all that matters. Nebraska has been a great underdog team. Like, I feel like they're dogs in pretty much every game so far this season, and they're more than capable of winning one, maybe win the series. This is one I don't like the number on Auburn. I think I would pick Auburn to win the game, though. So if I play Auburn, I'm not a big run line guy. I would probably parlay it with something. But I just didn't, really love anything parlayed with. Like I said, maybe Oklahoma earlier would probably be my favorite parlay piece. There are a couple other options, but I just don't like this number for Auburn here. But I would pick Auburn.
Yeah, outright, I don't like it, but I think Auburn's a solid parlay piece. I may have thrown them into something, not saying, but I think Auburn in a parlay is pretty solid. The under's going to be a good look. In truth, man, it's 2 good pitchers who've been having success so far. Auburn's home. I do think they're the better team. They're more well-rounded. Still waiting to see what's going on with Chris Rembert. Chris Rembert's going to be a first-round pick. He's missed pretty much the last couple weeks. He got hurt. I think it was like opening day or second day. That's a big loss. But the Auburn offense has been picking up the slack. It's just the Cornhusker offense is not very consistent. But I think Auburn in a parlay is a pretty solid piece. And depending on what the total is, I think this could shape out as an under as well. All right, let's go out to Las Vegas. Those are always fun. The Las Vegas tournaments are always interesting. This year we got Irvine, Vanderbilt, Oregon, and Arizona. So first game, Trevor Hansen against Connor Fennell. Very large number. John, explain to me why Vanderbilt's minus 270 and if we should be laying it or not.
Yeah, I think people saw Irvine lose that home series to Cal, which, there's not a lot of data to start this season, right? So you essentially have 2 series, and if you lose one of them, then your stock is down. I think that's just what happened to Irvine to start the season. And then people are always super high on Vandy coming into the season, but I think this is an unreal pitching matchup. Irvine's a pitching team this year. Vanderbilt has always been a pitching team. Hopefully being in Vegas gives us a high number, maybe something like 14 or 15. But I would love an under here. I don't mind an UC Irvine outright either, because I think this is much closer to 50-50 odds. Irvine is more than capable of beating Vanderbilt in a one-off game. But I think my favorite play would be under. Hopefully we get something like a little higher than 13. I think around under 12.5 would probably be my max in Vegas. But I think my favorite play here would be the under.
I don't hate it. Depends what the number is, obviously, before we start, ripping out an under. But in truth, man, like I love these Vegas tournaments. These balls fly, dude. By Sundays, in the past few years, by the time we get to Sunday, we're going to start seeing total 16.5, 17.5. These balls start flying, especially you get a little bit of a wind gust. Ooh, that thing blown out. At the end of the day, dude, I love Connor Fennell. I think he's a very good pitcher. I think Vanderbilt's got some good pitching. Their offense, though, It was like a flip of a switch in the first weekend, right? The first couple games, they were scoring, they look good. Oh, what questions about their offense? Blah, blah, blah. Then they get absolutely rinsed by OK State on a Sunday squad with just, I mean, look, in all fairness, Ethan London's got a talented arm, but goes 3 innings, 6 walks, they score 1 run and they get run ruled. So there's definitely questions about this team offensively. I don't think they should be laying 270 on a neutral field. Like, let's be real. Connor Fennell is the truth, but Trevor Hanson's really good. They're really good, and
And
he's getting 2-1 on a neutral field. No way.
And Irvine's got a great bullpen. Like, I think that's the big difference between, these Irvine teams that have been making it far and like an Irvine team that can make it really far. And they've been pitching extremely well so far this season. They might be better than Vandy at their own game in the sense of pitching in this game. So we'll see. But I agree with you. Plus 200 is definitely a good look.
I'll be fair, bro. I was a little down on Irvine this year because of their offense. I mean, you lose 4 of your 5 best hitters from last year with Colin Yeaman, Jacob McCombs, Chase Call, Anthony Martinez. So obviously you're going to be in a little bit of a transition period. But on a Trevor Hanson day, where the way he's been pitching against a wishy-washy Vanderbilt offense, neutral field, 2-1 is too damn big. I think Irvine is a money line sprinkle. I mean, if you're looking to get a little freaky with like a long shot parlay, maybe like Irvine money line, Houston money line, and then we'll touch on another one later in the show here. But I think it's Irvine or pass, depending on what the total is first as well. Irvine run line will be interesting, maybe like a 2.5. Possibly even juice it up to 3.5 other than a parlay. All right. Give me the start here with Iowa, Alabama. This is part of the Frisco Classic again. I'm a solo you up here. I got a little DoorDash that just arrived, so get after it and talk us through this.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think this is a tough one. I've been going back and forth on this game, whether to play it or not. I'm not as high as a lot of people in Alabama coming into the season. I just don't think they have the pitching that it takes to make it deep. And Iowa's been hitting it pretty early this season, but to be honest, I don't know too much about this Iowa team. And obviously there aren't a ton of data points so far. So I like Iowa plus money at these numbers. I don't think Alabama should be laying minus 180 on a neutral field right here. Alabama did get smoked by Southern Miss midweek, but they still kind of impressed me. They were hitting it well early. They just kind of, it became out of reach a little late. And then, you kind of lose focus when a game's that out of hand and people just try to hit home runs, get hits for themselves instead of working counts and getting on base. So that being said, like, I would go Iowa plus money. I was thinking about an under. I don't think I like the under here with these two teams. I just don't trust them pitching enough, but I would definitely lean Iowa at plus money.
I've got questions about Alabama myself coming into the year. Pitching a little shaky. There's a couple of your best pitchers from last year, but the offense is going to be able to score, man. But realistically, I don't think Iowa's good. Tyler Guerin, I was wrong last week. I thought FAU, James Littman was going to be able to handle business at home plus money dog. And, Iowa slashed their way to like 6-7 runs. They really pulled away late, like a lot of errors on FAU's part. But I don't really think Iowa's that good. And I'm being honest. I think Alabama doesn't have a pitching disadvantage, but they have an offensive advantage big time. I mean, I think minus 180 is fair, to be honest. I think Bama should be probably closer to minus 200, maybe minus 210. And I have Bama thinking it's a fair look in a parlay. I'm probably not going to lay Bama straight, so I don't have that much confidence in them. But I think in a parlay, it's pretty solid. Yeah, I know, man. I know. It's just something quick, and I know. It is McDonald's. Yep, I've been hitting the McDonald's on the DoorDash here. So just had to get it done. It was late. I played pickleball, so I had to grab something to refuel, and I had to get back here for the show on time. So that's honestly why we're seeing a little Mickey D's on the stream here. All right, John. Should we be going to this game?
If I didn't go to 2 weddings back to back last 2 weekends and had to drive an hour 15 to get to this game, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Side note, the golf tournament's also happening in West Palm, so a lot in South Florida right now. That being said,
where in West Palm?
The Honda Classic, or it's not the Honda Classic anymore, Cognizant Classic, but it's at what's the name of it? Where the Bear Trap is. Totally blanking on the name of the actual course, but it's up there in West Palm.
I'm in West Palm, right?
Yeah, you're probably right by it. So easier trip for you than going down to Miami for this game. But I mean, this is an unreal matchup. These two teams have been playing very good to start this season. Florida has won 4 years in a row. They've won exactly 2 of the 3 games, and 3 of those 4 years, they've won the first game of the series. Miami is a very good team. They've been scoring. We saw against FAU that 7-run 9th inning to keep their perfect season alive. But Florida's a very good team. I think they were very underrated to start this season. I like them at plus money on the road here. I just think they're the better team. And, in these rivalry matchups, anything could happen. So I'm going to take the plus money, even though they're on the road.
Look, man, I really was thinking about going this like 2-3 weeks ago. I'm like, I'm going to go to that game. And I actually had it planned. And all my friends were like, nah, bro, I don't want to go. I'm not going to go all the way down there for a game. I'm like,
you can break on it.
I might. I'm thinking about it. It's like I also don't want to miss like all the games that we have going on around.
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing.
Because it's far, man. I'm in West Palm. I gotta drive all the way down there, and then if I'm down there, I'm gonna hit the Hard Rock on the way back, and it's a whole thing. So I really, really do want to go. But in any case, this is a great series. It really is. I look forward to this series every year. And I understand why Miami's favored. They're at home. They're 10-0. Their offense is absolutely ripping. But I was big on Florida this year as as a College World Series winner contender, especially at 41. Made no sense. Super undervalued coming into 2026. And, look, I think they have the pitching advantage in this one. Like AJ Siskar is good, and he's been pitching really good to start the year. But Liam Peterson is a guy that's legit top 10 overall material when he's full go. And he had a rough start week 1, but man, he bounced back against Kennesaw State, and we saw the flash. We saw the high octane stuff. And if that's the guy we get, Miami's in trouble. And look, dude, I think Florida's really going to start getting going. I think they're going to be a real threat this year. And I'm not saying Miami won't be good, but I just think this is a Florida line we can't pass up. I think if anything, this should be no bigger than -120, -110. But realistically, this should be probably -115. We're getting value with a plus sign in front of the Gators. So this is a Gator spot for me. I think this is a good play. And I think they're going to end up winning the series because you have Peterson and King on a back-to-back. That's tough to beat. It's tough to lose both of those.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you get that plus money in front of Florida. You're going to take them. And frankly, I trust Florida more right now. Their bullpen, their lineup. And if they're getting a plus, I'm going to take them.
100%. I'm excited about this one. UC Santa Barbara against Utah. Why am I excited about this one?
Pitching
matchup will feed families. My guy, Jackson Flora, potential number 1 arm off the board this year. Possibly closing the gap, might be the number 1 pick if Chicago throws out a little deke here. Against Coulter McNally, a not as well-known outside of college baseball circles. Virtually unknown if you don't follow the sport. Because Utah's not a good baseball team. But God damn it, Coulter McNally is a great pitcher. I look for these moments when Utah is a big underdog on Friday night and you got Coulter McNally on the bump ski. John, I was really, really looking at this. I think Utah's a live dog here. I really do.
Yeah, I don't disagree, to be honest. UCSB hasn't been playing great. I mean, they've been pitching really, really well, but they haven't been able to score. It always seems like Utah has that ace. They really don't have any pitching depth at all, but they always have that stud on Friday nights. And they just redid their facilities. They invested a ton of money in there, so I wouldn't be surprised if some players start, heading there, and they can build a program out of Utah. But right now, they're more a team. They don't have a ton of depth. I think they're more than they're very live dogs on Fridays. Sundays where, they get a little out there and UCSB has that pitching depth. But I think my favorite play here would be the under. Just like you mentioned, this pitching matchup, unbelievable.
I think this is going to open at 9.
Like 9, yeah. But that's UCSB. These games, UCSB, like a Long Beach State, they always seem to open up at like 9, 9.5. And, they still hit most of the time. So I'm going to stick with that under. Hopefully we get something at least 9.5 or higher.
Look, man, I get it. And I would roll with it. I would roll with it for sure. I hate myself, but because I really wanted to take it. But like Utah's just not good. I mean, I think there's a path for Utah to win. I think it's not a bad play at plus 170, especially. And let's be honest. I think Jackson Flores is the best pitcher in the country. But against Coulter McNally, it's not that much of an advantage to the point where the line should be this out of whack.
Yeah, I totally agree. If I were to make the play, I'd go Utah, but I think favorite thing here would be under, as long as it's not under 9.
And look, I don't blame you for taking Utah. I can't bet against my guy Jackson Flora at home. I went with UCSB in a parlay. I just, look, man, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I blame myself, whatever. But I can't not bet my guy Jackson Flora, especially the way he's been pitching. He's diff, bro. He's diff, and he looks diff right now. Like he really does. All right. Another tournament. This one is in Minute Maid Park where the Astros play. Coastal and Texas are part of the tournament. Another good one. Tough news for Coastal. They lose their star ace, who, quite frankly, has a case to be the best pitcher in the country, number one, or at least, top pick off the board in terms of pitchers, in Cam Flukie. He's out for a while. Hayden Johnson's out for a while. They just lost their key reliever, Dom Carbone. It's an absolute mess for Coastal on the mound. It's going to be Luke Johnson. He threw in the Friday's game last week against Texas. Texas is an absolute wagon. Ruger Riojas has assumed the Friday night role, at least this part of the season. Texas looks good, man. They've already gotten steamed up. I think Texas in a parlay all day long. I think Coastal's just trying to keep their head above water until they get to conference play and just figure it out then. But the Horns in their home state, I think they're just going to roll this one.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I just think there are too many injuries for Coastal right now. I mean, I tweeted out this week when that news came out. They're down their top 2 starters and their closer. It kind of reminds me of last year, Texas A&M coming off that College World Series finals appearance and then just getting some critical injuries, rough start for them. And, they were pretty much out of it early in the season. But Texas, I actually made my first future to win the College World Series today on Texas. I have some to make the College World Series, but I usually don't like to play to win the College World Series preseason. Just because this year, especially, there are just so many teams that I thought could win it. But this pitching depth is legit, man. I mean, unbelievable pitching depth. They could lose an arm, they could lose 2 arms, and they'd still have one of the best pitching staffs in the nation. So I love Texas here.
Not good on that.
I love Texas here. Got them at plus 1,600 to win the College World Series. So I'm all in on Texas right now.
Yeah, I got some stuff on Texas, and if I hit a big bet this week, I'm going to throw a sizable investment on Texas, like sizable. It's going to be like a 5-unit, 6-unit deposit on Texas.
They're like fifth or sixth in what book you use in terms of College World Series odds.
They came down. there was one that had they were 17-1 last week, and then they came down to 16-1 in a couple spots, and then they were 16-1 in one spot, and now they're 14-1 everywhere. And honestly, I think they should be closer to 11 or 12. And I really, really, really love Texas coming in there. You know that. And I'm honestly, what they've been doing is what I honestly was expecting. I really like Texas coming in this year, and that's just how it is. And, hopefully you just keep seeing more of it.
I think the only team I'd take over them right now is LSU, which the odds don't reflect. So I love Texas.
Yeah, 100%. Going to another team in Texas here, Texas A&M. That's part of the Arlington Amagi Bank tournament. Look, man, Texas A&M was one of my big teams last year. It was Texas A&M, Virginia, and LSU were my big three preseason teams. I love the Aggies last year. Injuries and a bunch of stuff. Just the season was over before it started, really.
Yep.
You've come out looking good this year. Caden Sorrell's back healthy. Kid looks awesome. Love to see it. Caden Sorrell, which I like to call him IO, instant offense, just absolutely ripping right now. Chris Hakopian from Maryland, he's come over. He's looking good. Gavin Grahovac's back. He's back to hitting bops. It's looking good for A&M early. I really loved Shane Sadeo a couple years ago, and then he got Tommy John, missed all of last year. It was a big blow, but now he's back in the Friday night role. But, buddy, I can't bet A&M at this price because Virginia Tech has a guy by the name of Brett Renfro on their Friday night slate that was great last year. Off to a bit of a sluggish start this year, but it's early. I don't understand it. Plus 220. I gotta give a shot to Virginia Tech here, man. I think that's a team on a long shot card that I'm looking at. Virginia Tech money line, sprinkle, probably the run line. Like we were talking earlier about Irvine and Houston, and you want to take a long shot money line parlay. I think this is a team that I'd be looking at as well. Virginia Tech isn't a great team, John, but they're solid enough. And especially when you got Brett Renfro on the mound, they always have a chance to win.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I'm just going to stay away from this game totally. Texas A&M has played some serious cupcakes so far. I really have no idea how good they are whatsoever. They've got to play some competition to figure out what kind of team this is. Virginia Tech, I do believe they're live dogs. I think they could definitely win this game, but I'm not too high on Virginia Tech in general. Like you said, solid team. They can show flashes. But I just have no idea what kind of team Texas A&M is. And so that's why I'm staying away from this one.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. For me, though, I think it's a good long shot on the Friday card. Neutral Fields, Arlington. All right, last one of the highlighted. We got USM. Again, this is a team I gave them out earlier today at minus 175. They've steamed up a little bit to minus 195 at LA Tech. Now, LA Tech is they're no joke. LA Tech is always one of these tough mid-major programs that aren't as talked about as much as the Coastals or the USMs or some of these other programs. But LA Tech is always like in that mix. And, they're at home here. I think it's Declan Dahl, a JUCO transfer, is off to a good start against USM, and Colby Allen, closer converted Friday night guy. John, do you give or what kind of shot do you give LA Tech here?
I think they're more than capable of pulling this off. It seems like this happens every year. I mean, Louisiana baseball is always very good. You got ULL, Louisiana Tech, Tulane, and LSU. Even in New Orleans, Nicholls State, like they've got some very good baseball in Louisiana. It's also very hard to play in Ruston. Great home field advantage there. It always seems like these two teams are like 10-0, 9-1 going into this early season, rivalry matchup. And USM, Southern Miss, has won the series 2 years in a row, I believe it was, with Louisiana Tech squeezing out a win in both those. I think I might look at an under. Southern Miss has been playing, they've been winning pretty much every game, but they've been playing a lot of low scoring games. But I also don't hate Louisiana Tech as an underdog here. Plus money at home. I do think they win at least one of these 3 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they win a series. I do think Southern Miss is the better team, which is obviously makes it tough. And Southern Miss is red hot right now. So I think an under might be my favorite play, depending on the number. But if I were going to go aside, I would go Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's easy to look at USM. USM's a little bit more of the notable program, a little bit more pedigree and narrative surrounding them, just as a organization in general. But LA Tech is a live dog, 100%. I'll say this, though. I think USM is better.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The big guy for LA Tech right now, for Louisiana Tech, is Cole Lindbergh or Lindsberg. He's doing really, really well. He's hitting the shit out of the ball. But I think USM has just too much firepower, a little bit more depth. Colby Allen, we've seen a little bit more on the stage. Like last year, obviously it was a closing situation, but I like what I've seen. Pitching wise, they haven't really gotten shut down by anybody, have they? USM, other than Jackson Flora on opening day.
It's just been a ton of low scoring games. Like it seems like, yeah,
100%. And look, man, I'm not saying they're not in for a war because I think they probably are. I had USM at minus 175. I like them in game 1. I'll say this: I felt like their value in terms of a straight bet evaporated after it went over minus 180.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. But I think USM sneaks it out tomorrow. I could definitely see Louisiana Tech win the series. Like I'm not sleeping on this team. They're a very dangerous team. They've always shown that they're at home. Like you said, it's a tough place to play down there. I go on a local Louisiana radio show every single week, and Louisiana Tech always comes up. Always talking about like how good they are, how tough they are, and it's a great series. But I'm going to roll USM here in this spot. All right, so we got a few games that we didn't touch on as like the features, but there's definitely ones I want to talk about. John, I want to start with the Clemson South Carolina Palmetto series. Clemson's a minus 220 favorite against South Carolina here, plus 170. Buddy, look, I was a little down on Clemson coming into this year, but I had no belief in South Carolina. They just got smoked, like in the midweek. It looks like they're just quitting on Palminteri. Unfortunately, I just don't see the fight. It looks like they want the season to be over already, and it just started. And Aiden Canuck on the bump ski, minus 220 is not a terrible price to throw in a parlay. I like Clemson here. What about you?
Yeah, I think you said it. It seems like we're a couple weeks into the season and South Carolina is already ready for it to be over. It feels like Palminteri is already going to be gone. It's predetermined at the end of the season, maybe even before that. And it's only a second season of South Carolina, third. So second, yeah, so pretty fast. But I think they've just lost, all their confidence in that team. South Carolina is a premier program for a very long time. And past couple of years, they really have not been. I think Clemson is the perfect look. I mean, it almost seems too easy, which is really the only thing that I'd keep off. I wasn't a big believer in Clemson preseason, which is really the only reason I'm staying away from this game. I don't think they're that great of a team, but South Carolina shouldn't win this game the way that they've been playing. So I would definitely go Clemson or moneyline parlay.
Yeah, that's what I have. What about Florida Gulf Coast against Boston College? Minus 154 Gulf Coast. Man, they got the guy Evan Dempsey on the mound. Evan Dempsey looking good, brother.
We always find these mid-majors that are solid programs, but have, better years than other years. And it seems like that's the kind of year that FGCU is having. I mean, I watched them both midweek games. Obviously, I was at a couple weddings, wasn't able to get, this 6-screen setup like I have in my office here. But watch them both midweek games. This team can rake, man. I mean, even though their loss midweek, they were down 5-4, 7th, 8th, and 9th. They had runners on first and second every single inning, and they just couldn't get them in. They had 4 runs on 14 hits, a ton left on base. So, I mean, to me, when I see that, it's kind of like they should have scored more. Not as much of like they're not a great team for not scoring more, at least with FGCU specifically. But I love them at home against Boston College. It's usually one of the worst in the ACC.
Yeah, I like Gulf Coast here, man. I think Gulf Coast is a solid look in a parlay. I think it's a good straight up bet. I might actually bet Gulf Coast straight up here. I think it's a good look in a parlay. Boston College, I think they're going with AJ Colarusso, if I would imagine. Like Colaruso's that guy that he has some of those starts in him where he's looks like a legit Friday guy in the ACC, and then there's a lot of starts where it's just not good. But I'll say this, man. Florida Gulf Coast is one of those sneaky teams to keep an eye out for. Evan Dempsey's looking legit. Offense is, as you know, something that we can see really turn a game. So I like this, and I think Gulf Coast is at home.
Yeah.
How you guys feel about a Texas Oregon moneyline parlay? Bro, I'll be honest. Like I want to take Arizona with Kramkowski on the mound at plus 220 on a neutral field. But Arizona's killing me. But on the other
They're
side,
so bad, man. They can't hit.
Yeah, but I don't love Oregon. I don't think Oregon's that good.
I agree with you. I don't love Oregon. I think if you're gonna like, I was literally this exact parlay is what I was looking at for a 2-legger. I'm not a big believer in Oregon, but that would be more of a fade against Arizona than playing Oregon to me. And then love Texas. I mean, we talked about that. I think they're a great parlay piece, and I think you're just getting a great number because it's Coastal Carolina, even with all their injuries.
Yeah, to be honest, that's how I'm feeling. I don't really love them, if I'm being honest. Oregon, it's just what you're getting against. There was one more I did want to touch on. Not sure if you had anything else, but how you feeling about Troy in a parlay piece? Minus 195. Looks like they're at home against Western Carolina.
I just haven't I don't know. I don't love them this early in the season. They've been too inconsistent to start the season for me. I mean, we know they've got the talent, especially after last year, more than capable of winning any game. I mean, just beating Georgia. But I'm not too high on them. I mean, we do have a couple other like USF, UCF, I think is going to be a great matchup. I like the value in USF there. Why not? Rivalry. And they're like plus 200. And then the other one I wanted to touch on real fast. We got ULL at home against UC San Diego, minus 175. I love ULL, even though it's minus 175 there. I mean, they're red hot. They lost their first 2 games to start the season, and they've just been on a roll since, won both midweek games. UC San Diego played a rivalry game against San Diego on Tuesday and then flew all the way across the country for this matchup. And ULL is a very tough place to play, tough place to get to too.
Yeah.
So I love ULL at home there.
Last one. What do you think about Kansas against Minnesota? Minus 154.
Yeah, I was looking at this one too. I actually played Minnesota on Wednesday at plus 150. They went down 8-3. They almost came back. They lost 8-7. But this is it's a weird, they have one midweek game and then a 3-game series. I think Minnesota is going to win at least one of these next 3 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 2. I think Minnesota is a better team than a lot of people expected to start this season. Kansas always seems to have trouble on the road and midweek, but there's a reason that this went down from plus 150 midweek, and after watching one game, it's already plus 120. So I think that just shows Minnesota's. I think they've got to win. If not tomorrow, then Saturday, and then Sunday could be a toss-up game.
Yeah, I'm not betting Kansas for a while, man. I love Dom vaguely, but he really let me down first start. I know it was the first start, but it was what he did. You know, they got up to a 2-0 lead, and then he had 4 straight batters with 2 strikes, and he bases loaded, walked in 4 straight runs. Well, hit 1 batter in that mix, and it's just, you know, it was a much better start at McNeese last week. But, you know, I'm still not of the confidence to bet Kansas on a week-to-week. Like, this is a team I bet to win the Big 12 preseason. I'm not giving up on them by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely a team that I'm not ready to jump in bed with yet in terms of a weekend to weekend. Definitely bounced back nicely after that first game. But, the big thing with them was the JUCO. It was a JUCO influx, and we need to see that assimilation, how that looks. And I think there's a ways to go there, but I like it. Let me ask you a question. Wait, oh my God, this game's at U.S. Bank Stadium where the Vikings play.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think
Wait,
they
was
play
that?
their home game. They play their home games there now. It's hilarious to watch. It's
Yeah,
the
I
dimensions.
feel like I saw that last year.
Last year, exactly. I learned that last year too. The dimensions are
Was this game
insane.
on Wednesday? This game on Wednesday was technically a midweek, right?
Yes, it's a weird 4-game in 5-day home series, if you call it
Strange.
that, or like a
Yeah.
midweek and a series. I don't know, but Minnesota's. You guys got to look it up. It's one of the funniest home fields of all time. The dimensions are insane. Like you said, yeah, they play at not a baseball stadium, so
Feel
very
like
fun to watch them play. It's
feel
like
like
watching a football game in the snow to me. Playing in a baseball field with those types of dimensions.
I feel like we got to bring this up before we get out of here. Michigan, San Diego, even minus
I
115 across the board. Take carry. I know Michigan wasn't great against Florida State last week, but again, bro, like that's FSU. This Michigan team is honestly a little bit of a sleeper. I mean, they could show up on any given weekend, and especially take carry day.
Yeah, I'm very glad you brought that up. Great one to end on because I've been going back and forth on this one. This is really the last game, and I couldn't decide. I mean, it's a pick 'em. Michigan's been playing well, but I think San Diego is the better team. So, what gives there? San Diego's obviously at home too. I don't mind an under. Michigan's been playing a lot of under games. So I've been deciding between the under and San Diego. Haven't been able to decide. So would love to hear your thoughts on that one.
You know what, man? San Diego's looked really good. They took down Coulter McNally on Friday night. They took the series against Charlotte, who's one of my sleepers in the mid-major this year. I just feel like I have to.
I feel like if it was plus money, Michigan would be a good look, but at a pick 'em, like I feel like San Diego should be minus 130, minus 135, something around there.
Diego Gutierrez for San Diego's looks really good to start the season.
So yeah, that's what I've been going back and forth on all night.
You know what, man? I know San Diego has been really good. I think I'm going to go with Michigan and take carry. Just take carry's a guy that I really, really like. And I know San Diego is like one of these teams that has these. It's one of these programs that has these teams that is good enough to make a regional, and they've gotten off to a good start for sure. Especially Jaden Lobliner. But I think I'm gonna roll with Michigan for this game one. I understand the concept of San Diego winning the series at home, but I feel like I want to go at my guy take carry here in Michigan Friday night. But that's going to do it for us. Great show. Talked a great card for the Fridays. We'll see what we're looking like for tomorrow night. See if we can do a Saturday show, Saturday preview, depending on what time the lines come out, depending on how in the bag I am watching these plays, sweating out some parlays, etc. But John, man, great show. Appreciate it as always, and we will be back.
Yeah, man. Glad to be back. Let's have a good weekend.
That's it. Best of luck this tomorrow, guys. Let's get some winners. Let's stack some bread and get that bankroll up, and let's get in the green for this weekend.